Welcome to the next in our series as Apex Communications demonstrates yet another product, the Apex Network Auto Attendant for cloud-based auto attendant functionality, a value-added service offered by service providers to their enterprise customers. Apex provides a service delivery platform built around the Omnivox 3D application server and various telephony and communication components with a primary focus on SIP application feature servers, customer care solutions, and value-added services. The Apex multi-service delivery platform is used for thousands of applications and services around the world. Apex's Access product line helps turn mobile operators into providers of cloud-based centric solutions for enterprise customers with all of the core services every enterprise needs and expects. A perfect fit for an IMS network, this demonstration will focus in on the web pages and database management of the Access components. Today, we will again join Danny as he demonstrates a popular component of the Access platform, the Apex Auto Attendant, which can be offered as a standalone product together with an existing hosted PBX or Centric services, or as an integrated component of Access. The Apex Auto Attendant is a multi-tenant solution which is shared by many enterprise customers when hosted by a network service provider or mobile network. The Apex Auto Attendant is ideal for emerging markets and helps service providers gain loyalty with their enterprise customer base by giving those enterprise customers functionality normally reserved for larger enterprises who can afford expensive on-premise equipment. The Auto Attendant helps small customers project larger, more professional images. During today's demonstration, Danny will demonstrate the management of the platform from the perspective of the service provider, which is known as a power user. The power user is a system-wide administrator for the platform and manages all of the tenants for the service provider. In a separate demonstration video, Danny will show how the administrator for each individual tenant manages their own auto attendant functionality and call scripts. Let's join Danny now as he begins the demonstration.
Hello and welcome to the Apex Auto Attendant Management Console training video. Today we will be going through the task performed by both the power user and the tenant admin. Let's go ahead and get started. As we see here is we've connected with our web browser over to the web portal of the Auto Attendant Management Console, and I'm going to go ahead and log on as the power user, and I'm going to use the power user and my password will be password, so that's PASSWORD, and that should automatically log me in to the tasks that are going to be performed by, in this case, the system administrator. Once I've been connected, I will be greeted with this welcome page that just basically gives me information of who I am and the last time I logged on. Now, as the power user, I'm going to have the ability of doing 4 specific tasks, and that's going to be the ability to add, delete, and modify tenants, destinations, users, and create new DNSs. So the first task as the power user is to create a new tenant. A new tenant is going to be a company that's going to reside or that's going to be part of the Apex Auto Attendant. So what I do is now I click on New Company and I provide it a name. So say for example my company is Trader Joe's. I can put the name here under tenant name, click on the add button, click on OK, and that should automatically create a new tenant for me. And you see the list here, we have Danico, Test, and now Trader Joe's. Once the tenant has been created, the tenant profile that I will be choosing is single active script chosen by DNS. And what that is it's going to allow me to now associate this tenant back up to a DNS. I also want to make sure that once I've created the tenant that I've set my flag to enable. That will be give me the ability for the tenant, to answer phone calls on the system. Once I've created the tenant, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my DNIS. Now my DNIS is going to allow me to associate a phone number to a particular company. So now if I know that, say, Trader Joe's will be answering on a particular number, I'm going to now enter that number here. So say it's 818-379-8400, and then the company that I would like to use in this case is Trader Joe's. I choose Trader Joe's. I can add a description for, let's say, mainline Trader Joe's. Click on add. That automatically will now add an entry to my DNIS. Now here is where I'm going to be able, as a power user, to associate all the different numbers that could potentially come into the application server and associate those back to a company. Now this is a task that is only done, in this case, by a power user. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to associate different destination numbers. And these destination numbers are going to be numbers that I'm going to allow my tenant to call. So in this case, I can come in and click on add new number, and I can specify what numbers I want to dial. So say, for example, I'm going to use a 4-digit simple extension to dial different departments. So say, for example, someone wants to speak to the produce department. So I can set the number to 4118 and say that's going to be the produce department. And I'm going to now choose here Trader Joe's and click on add. Click OK, and that will now add a new entry to my destination number. I can say, for example, add a new one, and now the number would be 4119, and say they want to speak to the deli department for that particular market. Now we click also on Trader Joe's and we click on add. So now I've added 2 new entries to my company, or my tenant in this case, called Trader Joe's. Another thing that I'm able to do as the power user is create new users. Now I can go ahead and create a new user that could be a power user, or I can create a user for a particular tenant. Now the tenant administrator also has the ability of creating new tenants for their own companies. So I can come in here and say, let's create a new tenant let's call him Bob Vila. Full name Bob Vila, and I can give him a password, and the password can be, any password I choose. There is no restriction. So for the sake of this class, we'll just create a password using his first letter of his name and then his last name. So in this case it'll be B Vila, and same here with B Vila, and I'll go ahead and click on add. Once I've added Bob Vila to the auto attendant, I will then choose his user and then go ahead and associate him to the tenancy that I want him to administer. Now once I've associated him to the tenancy that he's going to manage, I can also specify the user type, and the user type is divided into 3 main profiles. We have an administrator of the tenancy who has the ability of changing scripts, modifying passwords for different users, doing administrative tasks. We have a user profile which has the ability of changing scripts and doing everything at a user level except creating new users and modifying passwords. And then the last one is a viewer who in reality just comes in and can only view information without modifying or changing any of the information that was previously defined. So I'm going to make him an administrator so he has the ability of making changes just like the tenant admin would. Another thing that also gets created is a default user for that particular tenant. So as we remember, I used the Trader Joe's example when I created my tenancy. So when the user gets created by the system, it uses the first word of the tenant and then adds the word admin to that particular word. So if for Trader Joe's, we now have an administrator called trader admin, and that gets automatically done by the system. So if I create a new tenant and say we call him Dory Dental, the next time when the system creates that particular tenancy, it'll create a user called Dory admin, or if it's IBM, it'll be IBM admin, and so on and so forth. So here is really the tasks that are done by the power user. As we can see, it's very simple, very self-explanatory. We've created a new tenant. We've associated a DNS to that tenancy. We've created a user for that particular tenancy, and we've created destination numbers that can then be done or used by that particular tenant. So with that, we're going to leave the screen, the navigation screen you'll see here will change once I've logged on as trader admin. So I'm going to log out as a power user, and now I'm going to come in as trader admin with a default password, again, of password. Now, this default password could be changed. We advise that on the first logon, we come in to users, and now we notice that the list of users is smaller because we're now only administering users that belong to that particular tenancy. So I, as trader admin, can come in and change my own password. That way, we don't have everyone with the same password on the system. So I will go ahead and change my password. I'm just again going to use the word trade just to keep things simple for my training video here, and I'm going to click on Save Changes. That will automatically come back and tell me that it has been updated. So now that I am the tenant administrator, a couple things. We'll notice at the very top here it says Trader System Administrator, so I'm no longer the power user. I am now the administrator to that particular tenant. I will now also come in and look at, I have different tasks. Now I don't have the ability of creating new DNSs. That was a task that we assigned to a power user, but I do have the ability as DNSs get created. In this case, we've created only one DNS, but as DNSs get created, I will have the ability of choosing what script I like to choose to run for that particular DNS. Now, as a tenant administrator, I will have the ability of creating new scripts and then associating those back to a DNS. So if we go to the scripts tab here, there will also be a default script that gets created for a particular tenant. So there's going to be three things that are going to be done when you create a tenant. You're going to get an automatic user, you're going to get an automatic script, and then you'll get an entry in the DNS to script entry when you've assigned the DNS to that particular tenant. I can click on that little icon here, and that will open now the scripts management screen. So I can now modify and make changes to a particular script. So one thing that I might want to do is change the script name, so it has a little more of a more meaningful name. So if someone comes in later and wants to modify a particular script, they know exactly what they're working with. So I can change this to say, let's say TJ main, so we know that it's the main line for Trader Joe's. I can click on save, and that'll automatically rename my script. From here, I'm going to look at options that are now being done at the application level. So I have things like being able to play a greeting, which is your welcome message. We always advise that there's a welcome message played as a call comes in that says, hey, hello, welcome, thank you for calling Trader Joe's. We then go on to the next one, which is a menu. So after your welcome message, you can say something like, for company hours, press 1. And the two destinations that I created was 1 for produce maybe, and 2 for the deli. So as you start to create your menu options here, you're going to record your prompts. So you'll record your greeting, you'll record your menu. We also will play a music on hold prompt or music. So as the call is being routed to a particular destination, you can also choose what music you want to play. You're going to have your invalid selection options, and your invalid selection option is if you have an option in the menu option section here that has not been specified. This is the message that will be played back to the caller saying, that was an invalid selection, and then we'll go ahead and repeat the menu options. If, for example, the caller is taking too much time to enter the DTMF or his menu selection, there's also the ability of specifying a prompt that'll tell him, please hurry, or I am still waiting for your response. Just an informative message that's going to instruct the caller that we're waiting for him or her to enter the selection. And then at the very end here, we have a goodbye message. And that goodbye message is just a message that once say for example we've played a message for company hours, we can just say, thank you for calling Trader Joe's, have a nice day. From here we go on to, or we move on to the menu options. And as we can see here, this is a lot like your keypad on your phone. So we have anywhere from 0 through 9. And as that DTMF option is chosen, you have different options to do with that particular option. The two options are the ability to play a prompt or to dial an extension. So in my case, where I want to say, for example, have an application that says press 1 for company hours, press 2 to speak to produce, or press 3 to speak to the deli, I can go ahead and come here and then choose play prompt, and you'll notice that the play prompt section is now enabled. But before I go ahead and start provisioning a particular application, what I need to do as the tenant administrator is start to record my prompts. And the way I do that, we have a prompt tab here that is going to allow me to manage the different prompts that I want to add to my system. I've created a sample Excel sheet that I want to share with everyone here. Here is the Excel sheet I wanted to share with everybody, and here it kind of goes through the different prompts that are needed for the script. If we look at, if we come back to scripts, and we look at the Trader Joe's main script, I'm going to be recording the prompts that are needed for both the main menu and then any prompt that then will be used on the menu option. So as I open up again this Excel, I'm going to go ahead and type out the text that I'm going to require. Now this is something I'm going through as an exercise on this video, but it's something that, as a tenant administrator, you'll have this maybe done already, or as a day-to-day user, maybe provide it out to the different departments, or the power user can provide it back to a tenant administrator as a template of the prompts that will be required to kind of make a well-balanced application. So here, for example, we've used Trader Joe's, which is a supermarket out here in California, and I'm going to specify what greeting I want for it to say. So I'm just going to say welcome to Trader Joe's. My next one, my menu is going to be press 1 for company hours, press 2 for deli, or press 3 for produce. I can also specify here what the invalid selection is. That was an invalid selection. Please make your selection. I can say thank you and goodbye. Thank you and goodbye. Thank you for calling Trader Joe's, and goodbye. My menu option number 1 in this case, which is company hours, I can say our company hours are from 9 to 9 Monday to Friday, and 10 to 10 Saturday and Sunday. Again, these are just examples. And music on hold can be any type of music. I can choose, I don't know, say some Frank Sinatra as music. So once I have this little template filled out, the Microsoft actually gives you the ability of using a recorder, part of the operating system. So you can actually use the recorder for recording your prompts. So, if we get started, I can click on Start Recording, and I could say something like, Welcome to Trader Joe's. And then I can save that as my menu prompt. So if we come in here and we create a new folder and call it Trader Joe's, I can come in here now and rename this as my welcome message. I can continue on to the next one. Press 1 for company hours, press 2 to speak to the deli department, or press 3 to speak to produce. I can now save that as my menu option. Okay, for the sake of time, I went ahead and I pre-recorded some prompts, so I wouldn't do it here through the training. So I paused the video, went through recording some of my prompts, and I've actually gone ahead and imported them into the Apex Auto Attendant. Just I'm going to upload one last one to show or demonstrate how that is done. And you basically click on the upload new prompt. You browse for the prompt you want to use, and in this case I'm going to choose my welcome message, click OK, and then change the description. So then that can then go into welcome message, click upload prompt, and then that will automatically now get uploaded to my prompt management screen. And I can I have the ability of playing these different prompts. Not sure if this is going to come across the video, but if I play this here, you'll be able to hear it says, hello and welcome to Trader Joe's. So once I've have my prompts recorded, I can now go back to my script, and in this case I can click on the TJ main script, and I now have the drop down to build my initial menu. So where it says greeting, I can now look for my welcome message. For my menu, I can look for my main menu. For music on hold, I can choose my music on hold prompt. Same with invalid selection, same with too much time, and in this case my thank you and goodbye message. So there I've created the basic prompts for my scripts. Here's where I now get to fill out my menu. So as we remember, I said press 1 for company hours. So what I'm going to do now is going to play the prompt, and I'm going to choose the prompt that I want to play. So in this case it's company hours. I said press 2 to dial an extension. So in this case, I can say press 2 to dial the extension 4118, and for the deli or for the produce. And then the same thing would be for DTMF option number 3, which was also dial an extension. And I now choose 4119. I save my changes, and I now have a valid workable script that will now play a welcome message, will give them the menu options, invalid selection, too much time, goodbye, and then I've built the dialog here that now will allow me to obtain the digit number 1 for company hours. If they press 2, I will now dial a destination of 4118, and if they press 3, I will dial an extension of 4119. And that is how easy it is to modify existing scripts that have been created with the Apex Automated Attendant. From there, we can go into reports, And reports are basically information for call summary. Call summary will provide you with information for the day or for the time that I've specified from start to end. It will give me the calls that have come into the server. Menu options will give me all the options that have been entered for that particular menu choice, so I can marketing can keep track of how many times a particular customer has pressed one, has pressed two, and so on and so forth. And at the very end here, we have destinations that have been called, and that will provide me with information of what numbers have been dialed based on the DTMF selection for that particular tenant. So here ends our training video, and if there is any questions, please contact support@apexvoice.com, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. Thank you very much for your time.
We at Apex hope that you have enjoyed and benefited from this demonstration of the Apex Auto Attendant. We hope that you choose Apex for your application server needs, your customer care needs, and your value-added services. Please contact Apex Sales today to get more information. We look forward to working with you and developing solutions customized to fit your needs.